I wanted to start off. The numbers came out on the college football playoff, I believe, yesterday afternoon. And I think the final number, if I remember correctly, was 22.1 million viewers for Ohio State Notre Dame, which was down from 25 million-ish viewers that watched the game last year between Michigan and Washington. And it was down massively off the first year of the playoff back in 2014. The game was played in 2015, but it's 2014 season, when I believe 34 million people watched Oregon play Ohio State. So what's going on? And look, there was a small audience in the COVID year when Alabama played Ohio State. But for those of you who remember that year, and I certainly remember it really, really well, Ohio State only played like 6 games that year, if I remember correctly. The Big Ten canceled the season along with the Pac-12, and then both leagues came back and they ended up playing again. My point on that is I understand why that number was low. And then the other low number, this was the third lowest on record. The other low number was the 65-7 Georgia game. I think it was 38-7 against TCU at the half. Everybody just turned that game off because it was such a mismatch, and there wasn't a lot of reason to continue to watch. So I break all of that down because I do think it's significant here. What's going on with college football? Let me confess to you something that I think I got wrong. I thought a 12-team playoff would lead to a much higher viewership down the stretch run. Why did I think that? I thought people would buy in and would be way more interested because they would say, okay, this Ohio State run, they beat Tennessee, they beat Oregon, they beat Texas. I want to make sure that I'm watching this. I've kind of bought in on this team. I've learned some of the players. That's typically what might happen in, say, the NCAA tournament, whereas a team makes the run to the Final Four and wins 4 straight games. You'll learn more about the team, the coach, the program, the players, and the ideal scenario is by the time you get to the Final Four, the audience is growing. It's not happened. So here's something that I was wrong about. Numbers really didn't change very much throughout the course of the college football playoff. Why was that? Why does the ratings and the audience skyrocket in the NFL as the number of games diminishes? Over 50 million people probably will watch the AFC and NFC championship games, and then over 100 million people will watch the Super Bowl. Right now, it feels like college football's ceiling is around 30 million viewers. Why is that? Why is that happening? Why are the numbers tapping out where they are? I would submit to you that college football hasn't done a great job growing its game. There are not casual college football fans. That can be good. It means you're deeply passionate for your team. It means you are less interested in the sport as a whole. Way more people are NFL fans than are college football fans. I thought that we would grow the ceiling potentially of college football, but we have not with a 12-team playoff. Now, some of you are going to say, well, it went on too long. I get it. Others of you are going to say, well, they didn't play the Final Four on New Year's Day. That made it more complicated. Some of you out there are going to say, well, they put the championship game on MLK Day on Inauguration Day. Understood. Some of you were way more interested in watching Trump signing inaugural orders from his desk, doing press conferences. I was at the inaugural balls. Some of you may have been watching the coverage of the inaugural balls more so than the game if you didn't care about Notre Dame or Ohio State. I understand all of that. But I do think if you're a rational college football fan who wants your sport to grow, and I am that, I think even my most ardent critic would say, yeah, Clay does love college football. I do. It's my favorite sport. We got to elevate the ceiling. I don't know that we're making the best decisions to grow the game and bring in more fans. Now, some of you are purists, and you're like, I don't want any casual fans. I disagree. I want as many people as possible to come in and watch the games because that's how you know the strength of the business. NBA has collapsed. I don't want college football one day to be sitting around and thinking, hey, what's going on here? Some of you, and I went and read the comments. Adam, go look up how many comments there were to my sharing of the television ratings here. Through the roof. Some of you are saying, I know there was over 6,000 of you commenting in there. Some of you are saying, and this is an ominous take, I tried to go read. When I ask you to share your opinions, I try to go through and read a decent number of them. And by the way, if you want, when I ask on social media a question, you can always follow me at Clay Travis. If you really like a comment too, I would encourage you guys to like it because it bumps it up towards the top and I'm more likely to see them. I can't read all 6,000 comments or 8,000 comments or however many of them there end up being, but I can read the ones that 50 or more people say, hey, I like this. This is an interesting take. So if you want me to see something, the more likes that it gets, also it rewards people for smart comments or funny comments or whatever it might be. That's the best way to make it so that I see it or that other people who go into the comments see it. The ominous take that I saw out there was most people don't like minor league sports. I understand some of you might go and watch a lot of minor league baseball. Most people don't. And the professionalization of college football and college sports in general may, for some people, reinforce the fact that it's just a minor professional league. And the reason why people watch is because they feel a deep affiliation for their favorite school because they went there or they grew up a fan of the school or at some point in time they felt connected. I don't think there's any doubt that the average college football fan feels a much deeper connection to his or her team than the average pro sports fan does. But the argument out there, I hadn't really thought about it very much, of, hey, this is just pro sports now, and the players are mercenaries. They're not, even if it was a little bit of a lie, they're not picking your school because they love it. They're simply signing contracts with whoever pays them the most money, and as soon as they leave, they have no concern about the university like you do if you went there, or if you are a fan, a donor, if it's in your state and you feel like it has a connection to the heartbeat of the fabric of your state. Somebody said in the comments, hey, this was just Kansas State's quarterback for Ohio State playing against Duke's quarterback for Notre Dame. These are just mercenaries. It's hard for me to care. And even if it's true, and it often likely was, that college athletes are being paid to go to schools before NIL was legal, it did feel when a recruit picked up your cap and put it on, even if it was fiction, there was an element of kinship that created for you. I don't think your average fan feels that same kinship in college football when you're like, well, we gave him $1 million more than everybody else. Do you remember there's a great line? I think it was Charles Barkley said he loves when athletes say they made a choice because God told them to go somewhere. And Charles Barkley said, I'm paraphrasing him. He's like, isn't it amazing that God always tells them to go to the team that's paying them the most money? It is funny, right? But I don't begrudge that. You're a capitalist. Most of you would change jobs if somebody offered to pay you 20% more to do a similar job. So I don't begrudge an athlete who takes more money to go elsewhere, but I do think it takes away from the idea, even if it was not 100% true, that somebody fell in love with your university, your stadium, your history, tradition, and that was why they came to the school, not because you just gave them more of a bucket of cash. I do wonder about that. I also think it's hard to care as much about a player when they're perpetual free agents. Even in the NFL, they don't have very many one-year contracts, where 1 year a guy is playing for the Chicago Bears and the next year the guy's playing for the Green Bay Packers. And I think if that does occur, we understand because somebody came as a free agent, other guy got to bid. Now, you got guys going 1 year from Alabama to Ohio State, or even crazier, 1 year for Alabama. Next year they play for Auburn. I'm a Tennessee basketball fan. Guy named Jonas Adu played his entire career at Tennessee. Then Arkansas gave him a bunch of money, and now he's on the Razorbacks. It feels weird. I think guys going from one school to another in the same conference with no sitting out between them, it definitely dilutes the idea of, oh, this guy really loves a school like I love a school. And I wonder if that's happening. I also think, why is it that the NFL, and by the way, the NFL has a lot of advantages, fantasy, casual fans who are living in cities. There are lots of reasons players can stay for years and years, and so you can root for the same guy or be a fan of the same guy for a long time. But why is it that the college football audience basically didn't go up? The same rough number of people who watched Notre Dame, Indiana, or Tennessee, Ohio State were still watching Ohio State, Notre Dame. It didn't stair-step build like happens with the NFL, like happens with the NBA Finals, even though I've denigrated the NBA Finals before. Like sometimes happens, at least on an individual game basis, with the NCAA tournament. NCAA tournament's interesting because sometimes it peaks. In fact, I think it does the opening weekend when we just have this cornucopia of college basketball. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday opening weekend from 64 still basically, from 64 to 16 is actually, to me, the most entertaining part of the college basketball tournament. Maybe if they did it well, that opening round of the college football playoff would be the same way. But again, it's alarming to me that there aren't new fans being created. It's basically the same fans. They just have fewer games to pick, and so the audience ends up very similar to what it started with. My argument in favor of college football playoff was that it would mean more fans were interested and it would grow the sport. We didn't see that. Now, would it help if they simulcast it on ABC? Yes. Would it help? I think I've seen a lot of you talking about this. Would it help if there were multiple networks promoting and airing the games? I heard a lot of you, or saw a lot of you saying in the comments that you didn't actually know the game was going on. Like you just kind of looked around and it snuck up on you because you're busy and there are a lot of things going on there. That's intriguing in and of itself to me as well. By the way, Adam looked it up. 8,200 comments, 14,000 likes on that individual college football rating. That is a sign of your passion. And how many of you, like me, are super passionate fans of college football? I don't know all the answers, but I do think that college football has got a real challenge going there, and we're going to have to figure out what needs to be worked out. One of the things that needs to happen is you can't go all the way to January 20th. You cannot be still playing the college football playoff when the NFL playoffs start. I do think that there's an argument that a lot of people, 2 games on Saturday for the NFL, 2 games on Sunday for the NFL, that a lot of people were footballed out. You got basically 7 or 8 hours back-to-back days, Saturday, Sunday. By the time you get to Monday, there are a lot of people that aren't as interested. Not having the games on Saturday, Sunday, I also think can factor in, but all of the title games, by and large, have been on Monday. They just haven't been this late into the calendar. And I know, again, this was a particularly unique circumstance with Trump being re-inaugurated for a second term that felt very historic, and also I think soaked some of the oxygen out of the air.